Hello and welcome back. Yes, don't worry. I didn't forget about you. I really didn't want to make a part 3 to this series because I'm not a fan of splitting videos into multiple parts. But, well, here we are. To be fair, I actually needed a bit of extra time to track this one down because even though it looks identical to the impact wrenches I tested before, this one's a little bit different. I've already opened it up because I've been hunting for this exact thing for a while now, and after testing a few others, I finally found it. From the outside, it's basically identical to the models from my earlier video. Same design, same specs, and well, this one is also made in April 2025. I've even equipped it with a Parkside Performance B2 model 5 amp battery from Owen. Everything looks good, everything sounds good, although the sticker on the mode selector is starting to peel off a bit, but let's just gloss over that, shall we? Anyway, to give you a better idea of what I'm talking about, I'll hand things over to future me. Thank you, past me. So, as I was saying, this one's actually pretty special. Unlike the other 2025 Parkside impact wrenches, this one actually works the way it should. Like I mentioned before, bad quality control doesn't mean that all the tools are bad, and this one right here is the proof. Even the anvil feels right, smooth, and with just a bit of resistance, just as it should be. So, let's take a look inside and see if my assumptions are correct. Alright then, here we are. Not an ideal situation with this sticker as the tool's only been used for about 5 minutes and the sticker's already starting to peel off. But I'll probably just try to glue it back in place a bit later. But as I said before, we'll gloss over that because we need to focus on something more important. The front casing, where the impact mechanism lives. The hammer and anvil assembly were a huge problem in my last round of testing. But after a tough search, I finally found one that looks to be as good as they come. And as you can see, both sides of the hammer actually strike both sides of the anvil, unlike what we saw last time. So first up, I've reassembled the tool because I want to test it properly, just as it comes out of the box. Then I'll swap in the hammer and anvil assembly from the 2024 model and test it again for comparison. So let's start off easy with 150 Newton meters. So then, there we are. The first proper test of a Parkside Performance 12-volt impact wrench from the 2025 batch, and it's actually working the way Parkside intended. I'm running it in mode 4 of course, and with a fully charged 5 amp battery from 2025 as well. Honestly, there's no need to even compare it against the rest of the Parkside 12-volt 2025 impact wrenches that I tested before. This one is just leagues ahead when it comes to hammer and anvil quality. So as 150 newton meters were no problem at all, let's step it up to 200 newton meters, which is where some of the other units with the problematic internals really started to struggle. If you remember, one of them even failed to undo 200 newton meters entirely. And as a reminder, this is basically part 3 of the series, so you'll want to check out the first 2 videos in order to understand the full context. And don't worry, they'll be linked in this video's description. I don't know about you, but I think that's pretty impressive for the price of this tool. On the other hand, I didn't have to go through 6 of these just to find one this good. Alright, now for the absolute final thing I'll ever do with these two on this channel. On one side we have the 2025 model you just saw in action, and on the other side my 2024 model, which since the first video I've claimed has a better anvil and hammer assembly. The only thing left to do is swap them around and see what happens. So what I'm trying to prove here is that even the best 2025 unit that I could find still falls a bit short in power compared to the 2024 model. As I've shown in the previous videos, the quality control just isn't up to par, and last year's Parkside Performance impact wrenches were simply better, or they were subject to better quality control. But this is the final piece of the puzzle that you wanted me to explore. Essentially, the electronics inside these are the same, so the difference comes down to the shape of the hammer and anvil. And the only way to really prove that is to swap the hammer and anvil from the 2024 model into the newest one and see if the performance of that tool improves. And there you have it. After a couple of finishing touches, we've ended up with a 2025 unit which has the 2025 electronics, however a 2024 hammer and anvil assembly. So let's see how it does. And unsurprisingly, it's a perfect fit. The older impact mechanism and front casing slide right into the new tool, which just goes to show you that everything else is exactly the same apart from the hammer and anvil, of course. I'm not going to throw this into a deep end right away, so let's continue from where we left off. First up, we'll see how it handles 150 Newton meters, just to check if there are any gains for, well, let's call it basic use. And just a reminder that I'm comparing the 2024 internals against the very best internals I could find in a 2025 model. So the newest version has been cherry-picked from a total of 6, I think it was. The rest of the 2025 units I bought had anvils and hammers that just couldn't deliver the same kind of power or consistency. To be fair, this video series turned into something I never planned on doing, but I hope you find this final video at least a bit interesting. So, there we have it, my 2025 Parkside Performance Impact Wrench, limited edition, 1 of 1 special. Now, with what I consider to be the better impact mechanism. And seriously, please don't suggest any more modifications because I am officially done with these impact wrenches. So at 150 Newton meters, there is basically no difference between the two. But let's keep going and see what happens when we step it up to 200 Newton meters. So then, here we are, the moment of truth. The newer tool now fitted with the older impact mechanism, and let's see if it can be the benchmark we set at the start of the video. Wow, and nearly 4 seconds faster at 200 Newton meters. So you can imagine the difference when a 2024 tool and even the best 2025 tool I could find push to their maximum. Starting off with the 2024 tool, on max settings a full 5 amp battery and 340 Newton meters to take care of. Now, onto the 2025 model, again with a 5 amp battery and on max settings. And it also has 340 Newton meters ahead of it. And now, just to prove a point, the same bolt and the same battery that I just used and my older 2024 tool. Well, I hope this puts it all to bed now. I think I can now finally confirm that despite the quality control issues with the 2025 batch, the hammer assembly and anvil are also the wrong shape. And even though I bought far too many impact wrenches, I still couldn't find one that came close to my 2024 model. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you found the video interesting. And if you enjoyed it, please give it a like, consider subscribing, and make sure to leave a comment before you go.